Poor girl unknowingly saves CEO's superpowered daughter, only to discover an epic twist. The rain was pouring down in thick sheets, soaking the streets of Millington like a drowning victim struggling for air. Sarah, a girl with tangled hair and shoes barely holding together, shuffled along the cracked pavement. She was always on the brink, hiding from the world, from her problems, but today felt different. A deep rumble rolled through the sky, shaking the ground beneath her feet, as if warning her that something unexplainable was lurking just around the corner. Out of the stormy haze, a flash of light illuminated the alley beside her. It wasn't just bright, it was blinding. She squinted, her heart thumping, a tight knot forming in her chest. What was that? Was it the reflection of a lightning bolt? No. It seemed more. She stepped closer, curiosity gnawing at her, dragging her feet forward despite her instinct to turn back. As she reached the alley's entrance, she barely noticed the shadow that raced past her, a blur of speed that made her heart stutter. Through the downpour, she glimpsed a figure tall, shimmering, almost ethereal. A girl. But not just any girl. This one was glowing, her hair glistening like the sun in the shadows, eyes burning bright with mystery. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. Who was she? And why couldn't she take her eyes off her? In that moment, the girl stumbled, crashing into a stack of crates, causing a thunderous clatter that echoed through the night. A commanding, powerful voice yelled from the darkness, "Get away from her." Suddenly, a man, sharp-suited and furious, appeared. He had the intensity of thunder, projecting heat and authority. It was then that Sarah realized the girl was in trouble. Instead of saving herself, she instinctively lunged forward. She didn't know why, but a deep instinct compelled her to help. Time seemed to freeze. As she reached out, there was a flash, a spark that connected them, an energy that heightened the air around them. The girl's eyes locked onto Sarah's at that moment, and something profound passed between them, unspoken, yet etched in their souls. Sarah's fingers brushed against the glowing girl's arm, igniting something fierce and powerful. And then everything changed. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the aftermath of their collision, bright energy rippled in a halo around them. The man's face twisted with disbelief, horror, and something darker. As the girl crumbled to the ground, the man lunged forward, but too late. Sarah, still reeling, felt the weight of fate crash down on her like the pouring rain. Everything froze. She had just unwittingly thrown herself into a conflict much bigger than she could comprehend. As she stared into the now dimming light, one question burned in her mind: what had she just unleashed? And more chillingly, what were the consequences going to be? Sarah's breath came in ragged gasps, the chaos of the alley spinning around her. Overhead, thunder rolled menacingly, echoing the tumult in her heart. She knelt beside the glowing girl, who lay amidst the scattered crates, her luminescence fading like a flickering flame. Panic surged within Sarah as she reached out, fingers trembling, desperate to make sense of the enormity of the moment. "Stay with me," she whispered, but the words felt inadequate. The girl's eyes, once brilliant, were dimming, and an unearthly power pulsed in the air, twisting around them. It was palpable, a living, breathing force that made the ground tremble beneath Sarah's knees. The man loomed over them, his silhouette sharp against the backdrop of the swirling storm. "What have you done?" he shouted, fury lacing his voice. His eyes mirrored a tempest, fury waging war against fear, and Sarah found herself shrinking back, instinctively finding solace in the body of the fallen girl. I was trying to help," she stammered, confusion swirling with a growing dread. The man's rage swept toward her like a tidal wave, and she felt her heart constrict. He was like a predator cornering prey, and she could feel the danger radiating off him in waves, but then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a flicker of light igniting within the girl's palm. It was so subtle, so quick, like a secret whisper in the storm. Sarah's heart quickened. She pressed her hand against the girl's wrist, hoping to ignite that spark. The moment her skin touched the glowing hand, the air seemed to shatter. With a gasp, the girl's eyes flew open, vibrant and alive once more. "Sarah!" she cried, barely able to articulate the panic in her voice. A bolt of energy shot through the two of them, sending both girls tumbling back. The man staggered, struggling against the force that swept through the alley, and in that instantaneous whirlwind, the storm flared into an even more furious crescendo. "Run!" the girl shouted to Sarah, scrambling to her feet as she pulled Sarah with her. They stumbled back toward the street, the chaos following in their wake. Each step felt heavy, like wading through a dream that threatened to engulf them. The man wasn't far behind, his voice a tornado of threats mingled with desperation. "You can't escape. You have no idea what you're involved in." As they broke into the open, the rain turned into a violent downpour. Sarah felt the cool droplets splatter against her skin, the chill weaving its way into her bones, but the urgency of their escape ignited a fire within her. They crossed the street, darting around shocked onlookers, oblivious to the turmoil unfolding just behind them. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to gasp, her voice barely rising above the tumult. "Celia," the glowing girl replied, determination lighting up her eyes once more. "And I've never been more afraid in my life. We have to find shelter." Before they could decide where to go, a crashing noise erupted from the alley. The man had broken free, and the fury etched on his face sent dread crawling up Sarah's spine. "Celia!" he shouted a promise, "you will pay for this betrayal." In that moment, the ground beneath them rumbled ominously. The air crackled with raw energy, the wind picking up a blustering howl. Had they just unleashed something far more dangerous than they could handle? Sarah felt the weight of the world shift, uncertainty flooding her mind. Where could they hide? How could they escape the urgent wrath of a man who wasn't just angry but powerful, too? The rain washed down their faces as Celia clutched Sarah's arm tightly. "This isn't over, Sarah, I can feel it. We have to figure out what we've started," she said, breathless with fear yet fueled by determination. As they threaded their way through the crowd, Sarah's heart raced. Amid the chaos, she realized it wasn't just about running anymore. They were entwined in a dangerous fate, and the storm wasn't only outside, it was brewing within them. What had she really ignited? And would they ever know the truth before it was too late? The thunder rolled again, a deafening reminder of the tempest raging both outside and inside Sarah. She could feel the stirrings of energy still crackling in her fingertips, but there was no time to analyze it. "This way!" Celia shouted, pulling Sarah toward a narrow side street. Sarah's heart pounded, but she forced herself to keep up. They ducked behind the facade of an old brick building, its walls slick with rain. The storm was a symphony of chaos, a soundtrack for their desperate escape. "Where do we go now?" Sarah panted, scanning for any place that felt safe. Every corner of the alley revealed only shadows, flickering shapes in the rain, ghosts of fear sliding alongside them. "Anywhere but here," Celia said, her voice urgent. "We have to find shelter and answers." As they pressed onward, Sarah's eyes caught a flicker of movement in the shadows. The man was not far behind. His presence loomed, a dark storm cloud matching the one overhead. As he rounded the corner, his gaze locked onto them, an unyielding fury in his eyes. "He's gaining on us." Sarah's voice trembled, the adrenaline surging through her body. Celia's face transformed. "We have to do something. If he finds us, let's just keep running." Sarah interrupted. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but something else clawed at her gut. The energy pulsing from Celia escalated as the distance between them and their pursuer narrowed wickedly. "They'll be looking for us," she yelled, realizing how shallow their chances felt with each step. Without warning, Celia spun around, raising her glowing hand towards the man. "Stop," she commanded, her voice steady yet underlined with fear. A pulse of radiance shot forward, cutting through the rain like a beacon. The man hesitated, a flicker of confusion washing over his face, but it quickly morphed back into rage. "You think you can defeat me with light?" He lunged forward, but Celia stood firm, an ethereal wall of energy building around her. Suddenly, the ground trembled once more, sending both girls staggering backward. The power Celia was wielding surged into the air, an arc of brilliant light twisting into a tempest of color. "Celia! What are you doing?" Sarah cried, feeling the pulse of energy overwhelm her senses. "I have to distract him," Celia shouted. "Just keep running." Sarah felt a surge of panic. "I can't leave you. Go. Now." Celia screamed, her voice cutting through the storm. The glow around her flared brighter, illuminating their surroundings as the wind howled in disapproval. In that split second, Sarah felt an inexplicable tug, a bond forging between them, stronger than words. She turned and fled, desperation guiding her feet as she fled deeper into the maze of streets. With every glance behind her, she saw the battlefield of light and fury, Celia holding the man at bay while chaos erupted all around them, but as she turned another corner, breath ragged and lungs burning, she heard a scream slice through the air. It was Celia. A sound like crystal shattering, and a sudden rush of cold that wrapped around Sarah's heart like a vice. "No!" she shouted, the world fading into a blur as she raced back toward the chaos that threatened to swallow them whole. She reached the alley, and what she saw made her heart drop. Celia was on the ground, glowing light flickering like a dying star, her face twisted in agony. The man stood over her, his smug smirk cutting through Sarah like a knife. "You think you're some hero? You don't understand the mess you're in." With a final push of determination, Sarah lunged forward, driven by a mix of fear and something stronger. "You leave her alone." But as she reached for Celia, the storm roared back to life, sending a shockwave through the alley. Power surged from within her, but it came with a price. What awakened would change everything. In that moment of reckoning, both girls locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them, as if they knew something monumental was unfolding, something far greater than the danger at hand. Had they unleashed a force greater than they could grasp? Would they emerge from this storm unscathed or forever altered? Sarah took a breath, heart racing. There was no choice now. Lightning crackled overhead as she braced herself for the impending clash, knowing it was no longer just about survival. It was about fighting for a connection that transcended their understanding. What had she ignited within herself, and would it be enough to save them both? Sarah's heart drummed in her ears, drowning out the cacophony of rain and the storm's furious tumbling. She could feel a strange energy coursing through her, alive and igniting her senses. It was as if something ancient had awakened within her, and it surged fiercely at the sight of Celia's pain, igniting a fierce determination. "Celia!" she cried again, reaching out, fingers trembling as she approached the cruel figure looming over her friend. The man turned his piercing gaze toward her, irritation flickering across his features. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," he growled, his voice deep as thunder, a threatening promise of suffering. With every ounce of desperation fueling her, Sarah could no longer hold back. She felt the tug of energy building inside her stronger than she ever imagined. "Let her go!" she shouted, her voice breaking through the storm's roar. He laughed, a sinister and mocking sound that made it crawl along her skin. "What can you possibly do? You're just a girl, lost in a storm." He moved his hand, and a wave of dark energy rippled through the air, slicing toward her like a whip. Sarah's instincts ignited. She threw her hands up, picturing a barrier. In a moment of sheer will, she focused all the energy inside her into an outward surge. As though channeled from deep within the earth, a shimmering wall of light shot forth, colliding with the darkness. The impact sent shockwaves through the alley, causing the bricks to tremble and the air to hum. Sarah gasped, feeling the power ripple through her, electrifying. She was doing it. She was fighting back. For an instant, joy mingled with fear, the thrill of wielding a force stronger than her own, but then, the man's face twisted in surprise, anger bubbling to the surface. "You're a fool!" he screamed, and with a wave of his hand, he redirected his energy, forcing the darkness directly at Celia. "You think this is over?" "No!" Sarah screamed, the world blurring around her as her heart raced with urgency. With sheer determination, she refused to let go. Flames of light erupted around her, thrumming with the pulse of powerful connection she felt to Celia. In that instant, Celia's light flickered back to life, sparking in defiance against the man's dark assault. Her eyes locked onto Sarah's, together. She shouted. "We can fight him together. It's your power too." Sarah felt a surge of hope. She clenched her fists, feeling the force stir anew between them, igniting like wildfire. Just then, the world around them lit up, brilliant colors swirling as energy cascaded between them. Who they were becoming, bound by something deeper than fear, the dark figure staggered back under the force of their combined energy, confusion flickering in his eyes. "No. This isn't possible." His voice cracked as if he was losing control, unraveling before them. But as they pushed against the darkness, Sarah felt a deep tremor beneath her feet. The ground shook violently, cracks splitting the pavement. "What is happening?" Celia shouted, panic lacing her voice. Sarah's heart sank as she realized the storm was responding to their power, intensifying with every beat of their combined strength. We need to go," she urged, adrenaline pushing through her limbs. And then, without warning, the very sky above them cracked like glass. A surge of energy unleashed itself, radiating outward, pushing both girls back into the shadows of the alley. With a final cry, Celia gripped Sarah's hand. "We have to find shelter before it all collapses." As the storm raged, a blinding flash lit the city. Amid the chaos, something familiar flickered in Sarah's mind, a memory, a face, but it disappeared just as quickly, leaving her in a cold sweat. What truly lay ahead? Would her newfound powers be enough to survive the depths of the storm, or had they unknowingly unleashed something far more dangerous than they could handle? Seconds turned into a lifetime as they ran, the path ahead dark and unpredictable. Where would it lead them now? The wind howled like a wounded animal as Sarah and Celia sprinted down the alley, the ground trembling beneath them. Thunder rumbled, not just from the storm, but somehow from deep within the city itself, as if the very foundations were protesting their intrusion. Every step echoed urgency, the shadows clawing at their heels, wanting to consume them in their dark embrace. "Where do we go?" Celia gasped, her voice barely rising above the tumult. Sarah caught a glimpse of her friend, eyes wide with terror and yet fierce with defiance. Together, they were reaching a breaking point, a joint of strength forged under fire, but still so fragile. "Anywhere but here," Sarah shouted, the rawness of her voice cutting through her fear. The memories of that dark man haunted her. She couldn't let him win. Not like this. A flash of light illuminated the end of the alley, like a beacon in the madness. "Look!" Sarah pointed, pulling Celia along. They dashed toward it, hope flickering inside them, bolstered by adrenaline. Whatever lay ahead, it had to be better than this chaos. As they emerged onto the street, the storm surged violently. Rain lashed down mercilessly, stinging their skin as they climbed over debris and broken asphalt. Underfoot, the texture of the ground shifted beneath them, hinting at a malevolent force lurking beneath the surface. "We need to split up," Celia yelled as they skidded to a halt in front of a compact but sturdy-looking restaurant, its neon sign flickering amid the chaos. "We'll confuse him." "I can find no way," Sarah interjected, panic flooding her chest, squeezing hard. "We stick together. Remember, we're stronger together." The connection between them pulsed, a comforting warmth against the chilling reality, but it was fading fast. Before Celia could respond, shadows twisted at the edges of the alley they had just escaped. The dark figure appeared, no longer merely human, but something malevolent and untouchable. He stood taller, cloaked in shadows that writhed around him like serpents, wild and uncontrollable. "It's futile, girls," he taunted, his voice distorted. "It's only a matter of time before you fall. You're merely delays in my plans." As if to punctuate his ominous words, a crack of lightning split the sky, a terrifying reminder of their fragility. But something within Sarah flared defiantly. They had already pushed back once, why not again? Seeing the fear etched on Celia's face made her resolve solidify. "We are not afraid of you." Sarah's voice was steadier now, more resolute. "You're not our master." With a wild determination, she concentrated, tapping into the energy that bubbled just beneath the surface of her being. Celia's gaze caught hers, and together they mirrored each other's fierce resolve. The energy surged, pressing outward from them, forming a barrier of light, shimmering against the dark sorcery bent on consuming them. For a moment, the storm stilled, the wind ceased howling, as all sound faded to silence, a breathtaking peace. But the man only smiled, an unsettling grin that chilled Sarah to her core. "You think this is light?" he hissed. "You haven't seen true power yet." Suddenly, the storm roared back to life. The shadows coiled around him like a living cloak, pulsating and thrumming with violent energy. With a swift motion, he raised his hand, and the energy he wielded expanded, expanding toward them with ominous intent. Sarah gasped, a rush of panic flooding her veins. "We have to fight it," she cried, throwing herself against the pressure of darkness. "Together. Remember," Celia shouted, igniting their power anew. It surged forward, brightening against the oppressive dark, blinding in its intensity, but just then, an unexpected tremor surged through the ground, throwing Sarah and Celia into the air. As they fell, Sarah's vision blurred, her instincts keyed into survival. She felt the darkness reach for them, hungry and relentless. Landing hard, they barely managed to avoid the grasp of shadowy tendrils that lashed everywhere, seeking them out. But amid the confusion, a familiar face crept into Sarah's mind again, the fleeting memory of someone she felt she knew. What if it held a key? "Celia!" she gasped, searching for her friend, but the shadows shifted, masking her. "Celia!" The storm raged on, the darkness swirling like a tempest around them. What awaited them in this chaotic night? Would they triumph, or would they be swallowed whole? Time stretched agonizingly as Sarah stood on the edge, holding her breath, waiting for their next move, hoping for their survival and dreading what lay beyond. Lightning splintered across the sky, illuminating the scene as Sarah scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding in her chest. "Celia!" she screamed again, but the storm's roar drowned her words, the shadows still writhing like serpents eager to strike. She twisted around, searching for her friend. Fear clawed at her throat. The last thing she saw before the fall was Celia's wide eyes. Was she trapped in darkness? Gritting her teeth, she pushed the panic down. They had fought together before, they had to again. A surge of energy ignited within her, and she remembered the warmth of their connection. "Celia!" Sarah called, focusing on the memory of light shared between them. It shimmered in her mind, a strand of hope pulled tight in the dark. "You can do this. Just reach for me." And suddenly, there it was, a flicker, just a glimmer at the edge of her senses. Celia's presence, strong and steady, fighting against the shadows that sought to engulf her. The connection pulsed brighter, a lifeline in the storm. Sarah dashed forward into a dense obscurity, her eyes narrowing against the swirling darkness, but just as she reached the spot where she believed Celia stood, the dark figure emerged like a nightmare incarnate, manifesting from the shadows. "So naive," he hissed, eyes glinting. "You think strength lies in the bond you share? It only binds you to me." Sarah clenched her fists, fueling her energy with fierce determination. "No!" she cried. You don't own us. The darkness recoiled momentarily, as if her words were an ice pick dipped in fury. The shadows whispered around her, taunting her with insecurities, with fears shrouded in grief. You will never escape. You don't even know who you truly are. With every heartbeat, the shadows squeezed closer, feeding off her doubts. But visibly gathering strength from her defiance, Sarah pushed back, lifting her chin as she gathered the light within her. Celia. Now. She shouted, the words echoing with conviction. A blinding flash erupted around them, and with it came Celia's voice, strong, unyielding. Sarah. She appeared almost like an angel emerging from despair, her hands stretched wide, reaching into the storm. The resonance of their bond amplified, together, their light brightened, both dazzling and overwhelming, their combined force clashed against the encroaching darkness. For a moment, it felt as if the world held its breath, the calm before the storm where nothing existed but the warmth of their shared energy. Celia caught Sarah's gaze, the strength of friendship carved into her expression. They were bound not just by fear, but by the raw power of hope. Just then, the figure let out a roar that shook the very sky. You are fools. He bellowed, the shadows around him swirling with fury, faster, more colossal. The storm mustered one final battle cry, hungry for dominion over light. Sarah and Celia braced themselves, hands clasped tightly. The power surged between them, creating a shield that radiated an intense glow, pushing back against the darkness, but the figure was relentless. The storm crested, waves of shadows crashing against their light with crushing intensity. Sarah felt the ground tremble beneath her, a powerful pulse resonating from somewhere deep within the city. What is happening? She gasped, glancing wide-eyed at Celia, confusion spilling over as the earth quaked violently. And yet, for all your bravado, you still cannot see the truth, he chortled, his voice cutting through the rumbles. You've only scratched the surface of your destinies. You lack the knowledge to control it. What are you talking about? Sarah shouted, desperation clawing at her. What truth? As if in response, the sky split open above them, revealing an unnatural whirlpool of storm clouds and light, chaotic yet beautiful, a force awakening, and in that terrifying moment, the shadows were blown apart, not by their light, but by something else entirely, a deep, resonating call that seemed to echo through the heavens itself. Just when Sarah thought they might prevail, she caught a glimpse of something shimmering within the maelstrom, an object spiraling down even faster than light. It glinted hauntingly, and her heart raced as realization took hold. Celia, she breathed, dread chaining her feet as she pointed toward the sky. What is that? A shimmering crystal, jagged and bright, spiraled straight toward them, and with it came a sense of impending doom. The very air seemed alive with anticipation as it plummeted directly towards the dark figure, teetering on the brink of fate. Would it save them? Or would it unleash something far worse? Nothing would be the same after this. The darkness, the light, and the truth of their destinies were all about to converge in a way neither had ever imagined. What new horror or hope would rise from this chaos? The crystal hurtled from the sky, casting a flicker of dazzling light that momentarily banished the shadows. Sarah's breath hitched. The figure's eyes widened in disbelief, and for a fleeting second, the world seemed frozen, a moment suspended in time, where the connection between light and dark teetered on the edge of fate. Celia clutched Sarah's hand tighter, eyes flaring with determination. We have to trust it. The dark figure roared, rushing forward, shadowy tendrils lashing out like angry serpents. Sarah felt her heart race. Did he know something they didn't? The figure's fury was palpable, mingling with the thick air as the crystal sparkled, descending like a shooting star, unwavering in its mission. With a clash that echoed like thunder, the crystal pierced the ground beside the dark figure, a blinding explosion of light engulfing the battlefield. The shadows writhed and hissed, faltering under its radiant energy. Sarah stumbled back, shielding her eyes. Was this their salvation or a curse? When the light dimmed, the landscape transformed. The swirling shadows dissipated like smoke in the wind, revealing not just defeat, but something else entirely. The figure stood exposed, his form less intimidating now, veils of darkness peeled away to reveal a gaunt face twisted in anger. "No," he snarled, fingers curling into claws as he staggered back, cutting through what remnants of the storm still lingered. The crystal pulsed, vibrant energy pouring from it, illuminating the broken remnants of the battlefield. Sarah and Celia gaped, witnessing a spectacle they could scarcely comprehend. Amid the afterglow, the ground vibrated, resonating deep within them. It felt alive, humming a song of ancient secrets. "What is happening?" Celia gasped, her voice slicing through the haze. In response, the crystal erupted with energy, a beacon of hope cutting through doubt. And then, it spoke, a voice booming and serene, yet striking with power. "You are chosen. The balance of light and darkness depends on you." "Chosen for what?" Sarah questioned, voice trembling. "Only you can awaken your true destinies," the voice reverberated. They shivered at its insistence. The words hung in the air, laced with both foreboding and promise, though a part of Sarah felt thrill, another trembled with fear. We're just girls," she protested weakly. Was this some kind of cruel twist? "Girl?" The voice laughed, light as if mocking her. "What is a girl if not a vessel of infinite potential? The fight goes beyond shadows, beyond the whispers of self-doubt. You have the power to reshape the world." The figure, still reeling from the crystal's brilliance, finally stood straight, muscles coiling with rage. "You think this light will save you?" He spat. "You do not understand the depths of chaos you invite." In a blink, he lunged toward the girls, dark tendrils spiraling behind him like a storm unleashed. Adrenaline surged through Sarah, she felt Celia's fear as her own. "What do we do?" Celia shouted, panic barely restrained. "Focus!" Sarah yelled back, rallying her thoughts. "We can't let the dark win." As they braced, the crystal vibrated again, resonating with their desperation. Light flared at their fingertips, ignited by their shared fear and resolve. Sarah's heart thundered with an electric pulse. They weren't just afraid, they were powerful, but before they could act, a deafening crash resounded behind them. The ground shook violently, and the dark figure collapsed, the earth swallowing him whole. The very city seemed to groan beneath them, reacting to the mayhem above. "Celia!" Sarah screamed, panic rising as the ground opened cracks. "We can't stay here. Keep moving!" Celia shouted, and they sprinted, dodging falling debris. The shadows slithered behind them, chasing, hungry for revenge. Sweat dripped down Sarah's face, a mixture of fear and something fierce igniting within her. "What if we can't outrun it?" Celia gasped as they stumbled through the chaos. In that moment, clarity pierced Sarah's panic. "We don't have to run, not anymore." With newfound determination, she turned toward the encroaching darkness. "Celia, we can fight." Hand in hand, they faced the remnants of the shadow. Around them, echoes of the past rattled their bones, intertwining hope and dread. What power did they truly hold? What were they destined to become? The darkness surged forward, a wave of fury, but they stood firm, a beacon of light against the chaos. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to hold its breath again. And then they unleashed their will. Would the light shatter the darkness once and for all, or would it awaken something even more terrifying? A surge of energy pulsed from their outstretched hands, a brilliant aurora that sliced through the darkness like a comet. Sarah could feel the warmth surging through her veins, a radiant force she had never known. It crystallized their resolve. Together, they pressed against the weight of the shadows, determined to defy the fate written for them. With a haunting howl, the darkness lashed back, furious and frenzied, like a cornered beast. It wrapped around them, trying to snuff out their light. Celia gritted her teeth, her grip tightening around Sarah's hand. "We can't give in. Not now. Together." Sarah shouted, pulling them closer, forming a single unit of defiance. In that moment, she felt Celia's pulse, steady and fierce. They were unstoppable. Raising her other hand, she closed her eyes, envisioning the tendrils of shadows as if they were mere smoke, ready to dissipate. And then it struck. A shockwave of light exploded from them, momentarily blinding. The ground beneath shifted, vibrations like heartbeats coursed through the earth. The world blurred, time felt elastic, stretched between seconds as they battled against the chaos. The dark figure screamed again, this time an ear-piercing wail that twisted the air. Sarah gasped, feeling the tension thrumming inside her shatter the very fabric of the atmosphere. As the shadows recoiled, she caught a glimpse of the figure's face etched with fury and disbelief, cracked like a mirror reflecting shattered promises. It was then, in that split second, that an idea sparked through her mind. What if we turn it against itself? She suggested, voice barely above a whisper, yet powerful enough for Celia to hear. But how? Celia yelled back over the chaos. We don't know, just trust me. When I say go, push. Celia nodded, fire igniting in her eyes. On 3. They took a synchronized breath, the air thick with tension. 1, 2, 3. In unison, they propelled their light forward, targeting the figure's darkness. The light pulsed, merging into one radiant beam that spiraled and twisted until it coiled around the shadows like a silken thread, pulling it away from the girls. The figure's scream transformed into a low growl, almost pleading. No, you cannot control it. You don't know what you're doing. But Sarah and Celia did not waver. They pushed harder, channeling their fear and courage as fuel. Colors danced before their eyes, they were crashing through walls of despair, defying everything that told them they were weak. As the figure was enveloped in the bright light, something pulled at the edges of Sarah's consciousness, a whisper brushing against her mind. She felt it, a quickening. Celia, it's working. The shadows squirmed, forces colliding violently as they fought back. With an earth-shattering roar, the figure was lifted off his feet, caught in the blinding maelstrom. For a brief moment, Sarah saw the fragments of his rage dissipate, replaced by something akin to fear. Then, without warning, the light imploded, bursting outward in a storm of glittering shards. Everything expanded, the air crackling with ancient energy, and with a titanic force, the darkness shattered. Sarah stumbled, disoriented, but Celia steadied her. Did we do it? Is it over? They scanned the devastated landscape. Shadows still loomed, but the fury had lessened, falling back like a tide. The figure was gone, consumed by the very darkness they had fought. For moments they stood in a silence high and reverberating, the reality of what they had just accomplished settling over them, but then a new sound echoed through the air, soft yet insistent. A whimper. A cry. They turned, hearts pounding, before locking eyes with a small figure emerging from the remnants of the shadows. Celia gasped. Is that? A girl, no older than they were, but cloaked in darkness, her eyes shimmering with a tempest of power, stood before them. You should not have done that, she said softly, her voice wielding a chilling promise. You have awakened forces that refuse to be contained. Sarah's chest tightened. What had they truly unleashed? And who was this girl, as? The wind howled once more, the darkness around them began to thrum again, swirling ominously, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Celia, we have to be ready, Sarah said, voice quivering with dread, but their fight was far from over. What lay ahead could be more dangerous than anything they had faced so far. And in that moment, Sarah understood the weight of their choice. Would they be able to stand their ground once again, or would this unchosen destiny lead them into a deeper abyss? The girl stood before them like a specter, her presence sending shivers crawling down Sarah's spine. Those eyes, an unsettling mix of sorrow and darkness, examined them with a curiosity that felt predatory. Who are you? Sarah managed, her voice trembling, betraying her fear. Celia tightened her grip on her friend's hand, a silent show of solidarity, a reminder that they were not alone. The girl merely smiled, that eerie softness transforming into something sharper. Await, she began, her words slithering through the air, that must be shouldered by those who awaken it. She stepped closer, and shadows wrapped tighter around her figure, almost as if they were her cloak. Celia stepped forward, defiance plastered across her face. What do you mean? We fought. We did what we had to do. But you shouldn't have, the girl hissed, her voice dropping to a whisper, twisting like a knife through the tension. The power you unleashed cannot be tamed. It knows no bounds, and with it, you've stirred a darkness that will seek to consume you. Her eyes glinted, a mix of malice and something like regret, uncertainty twisted in Sarah's gut. Then what do we do? How can we stop it? You shouldn't, the girl responded, tilting her head, but you will. And when the reckoning comes, you will understand the cost of your defiance. The ground quaked again, sending ripples through the air as the shadows coiled violently, echoing her threat. Moments felt like hours as fear enveloped them, but Sarah forced a steely calm, her mind racing. Wait! She called out. If we awaken something, maybe we can put it back to sleep. Show us how. The girl's laughter echoed, hollow and haunting. You are naive, both of you. The darkness is like a virus, once awakened, it will feast upon your doubts. It thrives on fear. And now, it knows you. Celia took a step backward, her breath hitching in her throat. What if we enough? The girl snapped. You've already chosen this path. Now, embrace it or be consumed. Before Sarah could gather her thoughts, a whirlwind of shadows surged forth. Dark tendrils lunged at them, snapping like vipers, and Celia pulled Sarah close. The air grew dense, filled with a chaotic thunder to fight or take flight, both options swirling like leaves caught in a storm. Hold on, Sarah shouted, conjuring the flickering remnants of their light. She felt the energy pulsing through her, and she couldn't let fear dictate the moment. Together, they ignited their energy, but darkness clashed against their light, a violent dance of power testing their limits. We can beat this. Celia cried. Just focus. Sarah's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was it true? Had they truly awakened something beyond their understanding? Together. She shouted, aiming to channel their burgeoning light into a blinding beam, a beacon amidst the chaos. The shadows lunged again, engulfing the space around them, pressing in, eager to extinguish that hope. Sarah could feel their doubts whispering in her ear, sowing fear like seeds in her mind. What if they weren't strong enough? What if they failed, but lurking beneath the fear was defiance, an ember of resolve that burned fiercely inside. Celia, now. They thrust their combined force forward, their light a comet racing through the dark, slashing at the shadows. The darkness shrieked, the sound twisted, echoing through every fiber of their being. And suddenly, Sarah felt it, a crack, a fracture. The light broke through, bathing them in brilliance, yet the girl's voice rasped in the midst. You've only just begun. Celia and Sarah stared, breathless, as the shadows fought back, ripping apart under their will, but not without leaving something in return, a strange darkness pulsing in the heart of their victory. Did we do it? Sarah panted, eyes wide with fear and hope. But the girl raised a slender finger, pointing into the darkening horizon, and Sarah's stomach dropped as she followed that silent command. In the twilight, another figure emerged, larger, more foreboding, its presence almost suffocating. More awakening awaits, the girl intoned, her smile slicing through the tension like a knife. You shouldn't have opened that door. Now, you must confront what lies beyond it. What had they brought forth? Sarah's chest tightened, pulse racing, dread mingling with a flicker of determination. There was no turning back now, not after everything they had done. Would they find the strength to face this new threat, or would it swallow them whole? The shadows swirled once more, gathering the whispers of long-lost fears. As the new figure stepped forward, a chill washed over them. Get ready, Celia, Sarah whispered. This fight has only just begun. The night stretched on like a taut string, humming with tension as the new figure emerged from the shadows, looming and ominous. It bore an almost regal presence, cloaked in darkness yet radiant in its malevolence. You've awakened me, it boomed, voice reverberating like thunder rolling across an open expanse. A pity you did not heed the warnings. Sarah felt Celia's grip tighten around her hand, the warmth of their connection grounding her as fear threatened to spiral out of control once more. What do you want? Celia shouted, voice steady despite the chaos swirling around them. The darkness pulsed in response, a taunting laughter emanating from the figure, echoing like distant thunder. I desire what is owed, it crooned, shadows rising and falling like waves crashing against a shore. You have danced with light, but all things must return to their source. The darkness you awaken feeds this balance and offering you will be. No. Sarah cried, the word bursting from her lips like desperation. We want to become your sacrifice. She felt the vibration of her own heartbeat as defiance surged, a raw pulse of light igniting in her core. Celia brought her other hand forward, the glow emanating from her pushing back against the encroaching shadow. You're wrong. We want to let you take us down. As they rooted deeper, the shadows twisted with sudden ire, digging into their fears, trying to sow seeds of doubt. It is too late for courage, the figure said, eyes glinting with anticipation. Pain is the only certainty. Let it guide you home. The storm rumbled in response, as if the heavens themselves were echoing the battle cry of the girls standing defiant against fate. They clustered closer together, feeling the rush of energy, the bond of friendship reverberating through them. The storm felt like an extension of their fears and hopes, amplified by the shadows that surged around them. Celia. We have to push back harder. Sarah gasped, determination rekindling a fire deep within her. On three. Together. Celia echoed, nodding firmly. 1, 2, 3. They thrust their energy forward, a spiraling beam of light, combining their strengths. The darkness howled, the shadows swirling like a maelstrom in retaliation. But they stood firm, hands clasped, hearts racing. The light burst forth, splintering the shadows, creating a path through the ravenous darkness. The figure shrieked, rage palpable as the brilliance of their combined light pierced through its defenses. You think this can defeat me? I am woven into the fabric of your fears. It surged forward, and the ground trembled beneath them, threatening to swallow everything whole. Focus on the light, Sarah. Celia shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. We are stronger together. Remember why we fight. With every heartbeat, memories flooded Sarah's mind, the laughter, the warmth, the moments they shared. It bolstered her resolve, igniting her determination. We fight for us. She declared. The power flared around them, illuminating the shadows clinging to their legs, driving back the darkness trembling against their light. As they pushed forward, the shadows finally began to unravel, the figure staggering back, anger spilling forth like a broken dam. No. You cannot escape this. You awaken only pain. But just then, the darkness eclipsed the brilliance of the girl's light, lashing out in wild fury. Sarah! Celia cried, straining against the force of the shadows. With an adrenaline-fueled rush, Sarah conjured the memory of hope, of blooming flowers in spring, of laughter echoing through confined spaces. The weight of that memory anchored her, filling her with strength. We're not afraid of pain. We embrace it. We will light our own way. Together. Celia reaffirmed, and the brilliance between them surged one final time, a radiant burst of purity against the ravenous dark. The light shattered the darkness, and an otherworldly flash illuminated the alley, washing over the figure. Its screen twisted and turned inside the explosive radiance, echoing through the storm. The shadows recoiled as if burned, the force forcing their pursuer to stumble back, consumed by their defiance. In one pivotal moment, the figure faltered, its power waning as the shadows surrendered behind it. The city, the storm, the very ground beneath them shuddered, and they felt the weight of something ancient begin to unravel, a release of untold power. This is not the end, the figure gasped, wavering against the light. The darkness will always seek to reclaim what is lost to it. With a final cry of defiance, the girls pushed forward, the boundaries between their hearts and minds intertwining into one, merging their energies into a final wave of blinding light. The figure dissolved, shadows cooked away by the roaring brilliance, leaving only nothing but silence fell, a profound stillness settled over the city. The storm began to break, the oppressive feeling lifting like a veil. Sarah and Celia stood amidst the remnants, arms still linked, emotion filling the silence around them. "We did it," Sarah breathed, heart racing with a mix of triumph and disbelief, and tears of relief welled in her eyes. Together, Celia echoed, letting their hands fall as they took a deep breath, relief washing over them. "We made it." But even as they stood victorious, Sarah felt the echoes of the darkness linger, a reminder that the fight for balance would never truly end. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger, but she knew that shadows always lurked on the edges, waiting for another chance. The dawn broke through the dissipating clouds, golden light washing over the shattered remnants of the night. Hope glimmered in those rays, the kind that promised new beginnings, new opportunities, even in the face of uncertainty. Holding Celia's gaze, Sarah felt their bond strengthen, a light far brighter than anything that could come against them. As they took a step forward, both girls understood, they had ignited something new within themselves, a spark ready to grow. The road ahead might be fraught with darkness, but now, they were prepared. With every challenge, they would stand firm, hand in hand, faces to the breaking dawn. "Ready?" Celia asked, glancing to the horizon filled with colors. "Always." Together, they stepped beyond the remnants of their fear, ready to face whatever awaited them in the light, and as they moved on, Sarah felt a new strength pulse inside, eager and alive. This was their moment. This was only the beginning. Now, take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories and adventures both Sarah and Celia will face on their journey. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support us in sharing more epic tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. Let your voice be heard. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and join our ever-growing community. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share the adventure.